welcome to our coffee lecture on infrastructures and tools for research data management. Today, I'm glad that we have Elena Spadini with us, and she works in the RISE team, Research and Infrastructure Support team at the university, and she will give us an introduction to the Text Encoding Initiative. Welcome, Elena, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Christina. So today I will be talking about the Text Encoding Initiative, or TEI, an international standard to add intelligent markup to digital resources. TEI is a set of tags to encode digital resources. And the TEI is expressed using the XML grammar, which is a markup language. So this is just to give you some context. Markup originally referred to the indications provided on the page to say how to display or render a text, but we use it today to indicate something that makes explicit to a machine what is implicit to a person. So we can use this set of tags, the TEI tags, to represent parts and features of a digital resource in a formalized and standardized way. And this makes our digital resource machine processable. What does it mean? I will give you an example. Let's imagine that we are transcribing a 19th century letter. And we are using a normal word processor to do that, like Microsoft Office. And in these letters, and as well as in other letters from the same correspondence, there are reoccurring names of persons and places. What can I do in Microsoft Office? I can, for instance, highlight all the names of the persons in green and all the names of the places in yellow. But I cannot do much more. I cannot query for them. I cannot automatically extract an index, for instance. And this is something, on the contrary, that I can do when I add tags in using XML. And then I can use simple ways to process these tags, so the intelligence that I add to my text, and query, count, display in multiple ways, as I will show you. TEI is a form of descriptive markup as opposed to procedural markup. Procedural markup is, for example, HTML, so the language of web pages. In HTML, I can say something like, I want this to be displayed in bold and I want that to be displayed in italic. In TEI, I would rather do that by focusing on what is interesting for me about this text. I want to say that here I have a name of a person maybe, and then I want to say that this is a title. And then elsewhere, I can say how to render the names and the titles. So as you see, descriptive markup allows to separate form and content. And this is a very powerful mechanism because it allows to render the same source in multiple ways. For instance, from the same XML source, you can have multiple outputs. For instance, you may want to print the body of the text and an index, or you want to transform the XML into different formats like HTML for an online rendering, a PDF, you want to decompose your text and reorder it, you want to create indices, etc. So this is possible because we separate form and content, source and presentation. And when this is the case, it is also much easier to reuse and preserve our digital resources because they are not dependent on a specific environment to be run, to be rendered, but they are software and hardware independent. which means that when I open an XML document, a TI document in 10 different programs, Microsoft Office, Gedit, Visual Studio, on the web browser, etc., it will be always the same. And there are chances that also if I open an XML document in 10 years, it will look the same. Exactly with this in mind, the TI was established. It was established in 1987 to develop, maintain, and promulgate hardware and software independent methods for encoding humanities data in electronic form. So 1987 is quite a long time ago for digital behavior. And one of the reasons for the success and for the longevity of the TI is that it's a strongly community-based initiative, and I will tell you more about it later. Since 1999, the TI is led by a consortium that maintains and develops guidelines for text encoding. And these guidelines are the hearth of the Text Encoding Initiative. Here you have the table of contents. As you can see, the last update is recent. It's just one bit more than 1 month ago, which means that really these guidelines are continuously revised. And at the moment, the guidelines include some 600 tags. So you can find tags to encode really a lot of phenomena. But it is always possible to change the behavior of a tag or to add new ones. And as I said, the Text Encoding Initiative is really a strongly based, community-based initiative, which means that any member can propose changes to the guidelines. The TI mailing list is normally the first place in which these changes are discussed, and then there is a technical council that will revise the guidelines accordingly. Looking at the table of contents, you can see that with TI you can address different very different text and not only text, but also audio, video, and other kinds of digital resources. So for instance, verses, performance text, transcriptions of speech, dictionaries, manuscript descriptions, representation of primary sources, critical apparatus. There are ways to encode names, dates, people, places, tables, formulae, etc. There are ways to create language corpora. There are mechanisms for linking, segmentation, alignment, etc. Sorry, I'm in the dark because in this room the light goes down automatically. As I said, the TI at the moment includes some 600 tags, but it is very difficult that the project would need all 600 tags. Normally, you would need a small subset of them, and the small subset is defined and documented in a schema. So each project should define its own schema. And the schema represents in a structured and formalized way your understanding and interpretation of the object of study. So if, let's say, an historian, a literary scholar, and a linguist look at the same, encode the same document, they will probably use different tags because they are interested in different features of this resource. So the way you deal with this text, the way you work with this text, the way you encode it, represents corresponds to your scientific choices, and the schema is a formalized way to express that. The TI is modular. It's composed of modules and classes, and that helps in customizing the schema for each project. The TI Consortium not only maintains the guidelines, but also a number of other initiatives, such as Journal, the mailing list that I already mentioned, which is a very friendly environment, and there is an annual conference, prizes, etc. And now let's look at some examples of TI in action from different fields. So TEI can be used to describe historical sources. For example, there are a lot of catalogs powered by TEI, such as eCodices, Manuscriptorium, Manus. Here you have a screenshot of eCodices. You're probably familiar with it. Here there is a description of a manuscript in eCodices, and within the interface, eCodices interface, you can access the XML TEI source behind this rendering or another rendering. With TEI, you can produce scholarly editions of using any approach, critical, genetic, diplomatic, etc. Here you have two catalogs of scholarly editions in which you will find more on the topic. And just as an example, this is the Shelley Godwin archive, the archive of this family of creators and writers. This is a manuscript of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Here on the left, you see the facsimile. On the right, you see the whole transcription. And as you can probably see on this page, there is not only one hand, but more. Here we can see only what has been written by Mary Shelley by selecting the button here. And here only what has been added by her husband, Percy Shelley. And these three renderings, so this one, are all produced from the same source. So from the same XML TEI document, we can produce different renderings as said before. This is another example of an addition of material of historical relevance, the collection of the Swiss law sources online. And there are many more examples of using TEI for studying historical materials. Okay. I can also use TEI for linguistic annotation, for example, word level annotation, but also for creating dictionaries or for encoding spoken multimodal corpora. Here is an example, the TEI Talk environment. This is a web-based platform for viewing, creating, and editing corpora with both rich textual markup and linguistic annotation. And here you have an example of how a resource created with TEI Talk looks like. So when you hover on a word, you see all the linguistic details, and then you have a CQP search, etc. And here you have an example of TEI used as interoperability format among tools for the transcription of spoken language. There are a number of initiatives that are neighbors, children, sisters of the Text Encoding Initiative, namely EpiDoc, a subset of TEI for encoding epigraphic materials, and papyri. The Charters Encoding Initiative that is used for the big portal Monasterium, and the Music Encoding Initiative. So they serve a specific community. And if you want to know more about TEI, I encourage you to contact us at RISE.
Thank you so much, Elena, for this very nice introduction to TEI. Does anybody have a question? If yes, you can write the question in the chat or if in the Q&A session. We will wait a little bit, give you some time for writing.
I will try to turn on the light.
Okay. Yeah, there are no questions. So we finish for today. And thank you once again, Elena.
Thanks.
And goodbye.
Bye. Thanks.